Hi everyone, today we're going to go over our Bahamas trip that we just got back from like 2 months ago, but we're finally filming this now. And we're going to kind of go over the expectations versus the reality, the reviews that we've read, and kind of just our experience. We'll start with our packing list, we'll go through our experience getting there, how we felt while we were there, the kinds of things that we did, and just lots of things like that.
Okay, so first we have our packing list. Brought like the normal stuff, clothes, swimsuits, toothbrush, toothpaste, all the stuff you would take on a trip. Lots of sunscreen. That was the first important thing on our list, was we bought lots of sunscreen before we left, packed it in our carry-on so we could have it there with us and not have to buy it there.
And for two of us, we probably used about half a bottle of sunscreen a day, and we were there for 9 days. So I think we brought like 7 bottles and only used like 4 or so. 4 or 5.
Also aloe vera, because I get sunburned a lot.
And we'll make sure to bring aloe vera. We also brought things like aspirin, just in case. They probably had it at the resort. They had a little convenience store where we could go and buy everything, but we figured we might as well just bring some. We also brought Pepto-Bismol tablets, just because we heard that sometimes you might get sick from drinking the water there. Now, it's all water that is reverse osmosis, so it's supposed to be fine. We drink the tap water. We didn't have any problems, and we took Pepto-Bismol every morning. I think it helped. There's definitely some times where I felt like a little sick, but that was probably just from traveling. And so, yeah.
We brought these for our phones, so we each had one of these. It's like a clear case, and then we had lanyards on them, so we'd wear them around our neck. That way we could take our phones into the pools and on all the water slides with us, so we didn't have to leave it out. And they worked really well. I don't feel like my phone got wet at all.
Yeah, pretty much everyone had these. You could put your phones, your key cards, money, everything in there that you need. You could take it down all the slides that you carry everywhere you go. And yeah, it made it really easy to not have to leave valuables by your seats. One thing that we read about going there is that there are these reviews, so many people come on the cruise ships, there's no security, people are just gonna steal your stuff. We took all our valuables with us. We left things like books and hats and shoes, shirts on the chairs, and no one took them. But everything else we put in this little bag, took with us, and we never had any problems. So some other things that we did, we brought some card games with us, some other games so that we could kind of play and have fun. There's a lot to do at the resort, and we'll go over kind of everything that we did. But when I'm on vacation, I don't always love just being outside all day. You have long days, it gets hot, sometimes you just want to hang out in your hotel room. And if you don't bring things like games and whatnot, all there really is to do is watch TV. There's some other things you can do inside the hotel, but sometimes you just want to have fun and play games, especially if you're there for a long time. So we brought card games, a game called Farkle, dice games, things like that. We also brought our computers and our phones. They have internet there, it works fine. You can do everything you need to do. Watch Netflix, things like that. And what we did, because we read some reviews about how the staff would steal phones that were on chargers, things like that. We found the staff to be very nice, especially the lady that cleaned our room. She always said hi to us every day. Always asked us if we wanted our room cleaned. You can put those signs on your door to say no one enter if you don't want to. But what we did is we brought these TSA locks. Now, there's been a lot of things about people saying, oh, well, the keys for these locks can be duplicated and whatnot, and then someone could just steal your stuff. But chances are they're not going to have those. We didn't have any problems with it. We just put all our valuables in a suitcase before we left, locked them up, and we were good. All right, so the first thing that we're going to go over is getting there. Now, we live in Utah, so we flew to
Atlanta was our layover.
Yep, so we flew to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta, we flew to the Bahamas. And you need to bring your passport so that you can get in. You definitely need that. And what we also did is we looked up online the best ways to travel. Now, if you're planning on stopping and buying food there, water bottles, like a lot of people recommended, I personally don't think it's necessary. But if you have a bigger family, maybe it is, because you'll save more money that way. Just the two of us, we didn't need to do that. But if you're going that way, people recommended taking a taxi or some sort of shuttle. What we did is we booked ours right through the resort, and we took the resort shuttle. It was fairly cheap. I think it was like $32 a person there and back, so $64-ish total. I'm probably off by $5 or $10 there, but something like that. And what they have you do is they want you to print out your vouchers before. So make sure you print those out. They also had a list of all the people coming in, so they're actually expecting you. It's not you just hand it to a bus driver. They're there, they're waiting for you, they're expecting you to come. And you do need a call beforehand, I believe, when you're leaving, to make sure that you're actually checking out and that you're ready. So depending upon how you book, if you book through Atlantis, they have very detailed instructions of what you need to do. Just follow all of those and you'll be good.
Our shuttle ride was like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was about 30 minutes.
In a bus, but our way there, our bus driver kind of gave us a tour about what we were driving by and just told us about the different things we were seeing. So it didn't feel long, and it was pretty fun to like see everything. And
yeah, the island's pretty small. There are a lot of people. There's probably, I think the driver said there's about as many Bahamians as there are tourists or immigrants that kind of come on the island. So I think they said there's around like 1 million people total with both of those on a crowded island. So that's kind of why it took so long to get there. Other than that, it wasn't anything crazy. You weren't waiting in like stop and go traffic unless you were in like the middle of a big city. But it was a pretty good ride. Great scenery. You drive along the coast, and it was pretty fun.
We also saw a parade on our way there.
Yeah, there was a parade. It was the
like city, like royalty, like the girls. I don't know what it's called.
They were just riding on top of cars through the city, so that might have been why it was a little crowded as well. Right as you're getting off that shuttle, you come over this really big bridge that takes you onto Paradise Island where you stay, and there's a kind of a toll gate. So if you're gonna leave, I imagine it being sort of expensive, just because the taxi drivers would have to pay to go through that toll gate, and so you have to pay to get in and out. And then with that, it is a very touristy, very crowded place. I would probably recommend not leaving unless there's something specific you want to do. Based off upon what we could tell, it was probably just the most fun, the least stressful to just stay on the island.
We had everything that we wanted to do right on the island, so we never left.
Yeah. Now the next thing we read online is at the different places we were wanting to stay, they had the Coral, the Beach, the Royal, the Cove, and I think there was another one. The Coral and the Beach were the cheapest. And then the Royal was kind of the middle one. That's the one that we stayed at. We have initially booked through the beach hotel because it was kind of cheaper. It was a little bit further away from everything we wanted to do, but they had shuttles that took you. We even walked through it though, and it didn't seem like shuttles are even worth taking. So a lot of people say, oh, take shuttles through the island and you'll be fine to get anywhere. Paradise Island's really big, and it's not just Atlantis. Now, if you're going to the golf course, then you might want to take a shuttle bus. But other than that, you can really just walk anywhere, and you don't have to worry about taking shuttles. But it was pretty good. The reason why we didn't stay at the beach hotel is because we read a review that said that there were bed bugs and things like that. Now, that was probably a fluke, considering all the other things we read sounded a lot worse than it actually was when we got there. So I wouldn't be worried, and I wouldn't read too much into the reviews. Now, you can definitely take caution. We're glad we stayed at the World. It was definitely nicer. We didn't have any problems with bed bugs. It was really clean when we got there. There was not a long wait when we arrived, and we just kind of got our room keys, went up to the hotel room, and got right into our room. And so it was pretty great. I'm kind of going to include a room tour here so that you can see exactly what it looks like. We had a really nice view. We did ask for a non-smoking room, so we got that, and then we also got an even numbered room. And a lot of the reviews said, get an even numbered room, that way you can look out over the beach and over the water parks and things like that, instead of looking out just kind of into the city. And so that was really nice. Our room was on the 4th floor, right above the turtles and the stingrays and the sharks. I guess not stingrays, it was just turtles and sharks. Because it was on the 4th floor, we couldn't see the beach a ton. We could like barely kind of see it, but it was really fun being that close to the animals. And so the higher up you go, the more of the beach you can see, but all of it's really nice.
The lady that cleaned our room was really nice, and we didn't have it cleaned every day, so sometimes we got it a little messy, but every time she came in, she did a really great job, and she was always super nice. We'd pass her in the hallway like 2 or 3 times a day as we'd come and go, and she'd always talk to us and make sure that we were taken care of.
Okay, so the weather was really, the first day it was kind of scary because like we were reading all the reviews and it was like, oh, thunderstorms, rain, thing like that. We went in August. I think we got there August 11th and we left on like the 20th or something like that. And so the first day when we got there, it was sunny in the beginning, and then it got a little overcast. The next day was pretty rainy, but after that it was fine. There was some times where it would rain a little bit, but it always cleared up really quickly, so it never stayed for long. They do close down the slides when it is gonna get like a thunderstorm, but they were never closed down for more than like 2 hours. Now, the first thing we did when we got there is we went to the beach. And so we got there at about 4 o'clock at night and we went to this beach. And when you're at the Atlantis Hotel, there's different beaches that you can go on. So the main beach is where all the tourists go to as well. It's the easiest one to access. And there were a lot of like jet skis, and there are a lot of people just kind of hanging up on the shores, trying to sell you things, trying to get you to ride jet skis or whatnot. We read reviews about, hey, don't go on jet skis, don't do all these other things, they might not be safe. We just figured we wouldn't try it. And we also just didn't like being pestered every time we went to the beach. It was really crowded. But there are a lot of other beaches that you can go to. And so we went to the one just like right next to it. All that divided it was like a rocky shelf. And so we went there, it was perfect. It wasn't crowded. There are a lot of chairs out there that you can lay down on. They were never taken. There were some that had covers on them, which were always usually taken just by the people who get there in the morning, but there were a lot of chairs that you could just lay out on, and then the water was never too packed.
One of the things our tour guide told us as we were driving to the resort is that all of the Bahamas beaches are public, so like you can't have a private beach, which is why all those people with the jet skis were there, is because they're allowed to be there, but they weren't on the other one just because it was harder to get to, so they could potentially be there, but I don't really think they ever would because it's harder to get to. Just not as many people.
And the water was really nice. It was warm. The seas weren't too rough. There weren't big waves or anything like that, so don't expect to like surf or play in waves a ton. But it was great for snorkeling. We did a Dolphin Cay Adventure, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But they gave us snorkels, and so we got to use those for the last few days that we were there. And another thing, I would kind of compare the beaches to, if you've ever been to Hawaii, that's where I grew up. The beaches are kind of like that, but without waves. It's not like crystal clear blue water or anything, but it is really nice. It just depends upon what the weather's like at the time.
As we went snorkeling, you could easily see like fish, and we collected a lot of shells, and so the water was nice for that. We just swam around, and there's a lot to do. So before we went, we read reviews about how when the cruise ships stop, it gets really crowded because everybody from the cruise ships can come to the resort.
There were also reviews that there were like 40-minute to an hour and a half wait times for the rides and things like that, and we didn't experience that at all. There might have been one ride, and it was the Leap of Faith one, the one that goes through the shark caves, and you go like straight down. It's a single person ride, no tubes or anything like that, and that one was, I think it was like a 20-25 minute wait. I guess there was another one on one of the towers. There's a tube ride, and that took quite a long time. I think that one took around 30 minutes or so as well. But the only reason that one took such a long time is because we went on a day where the 2 slides under it were actually closed. They're probably doing maintenance or something like that. But other than that, all the other days we went, you could go on rides like instantly, wait for like 30 seconds to 5 minutes, go down a bunch of rides. There's always the lazy river and the rapid river that we'll talk about, but the crowds really weren't that bad, and I couldn't even tell. Like, there were sometimes I was like, oh, today seems like a lot of cruise ships came, but I don't even know if that was true. It was hard to tell if there were a ton of cruise ships there or not. It is pretty expensive for the cruise ship people to get a day pass in there. A lot of them do it, but a lot of them do just go to the beaches around the island as well.
It did seem like there was quite a few random closures of the slides that we didn't really know why. They eventually always opened back up, so we got to do everything we wanted to do, but sometimes they were just like randomly closed in the middle of the day, so you should have to go on a different slide or do something else till it opened.
And one thing that was always open is the rapid river. Now, there was a lazy river and there was a rapid river. The lazy river's around the beach hotel, and then the rapid river's in the main water park. I don't think we ever went on the lazy river. We always just liked the rapid river. It was really fun. It is like it sounds. It is a rapid river with like waves, and it can push you off your tube. But there's this one point where people always fall off their tube. It's really funny. There's a bridge above it. You can just stand and watch people. They aren't expecting it. And a lot of the reviews said things like, oh, don't go in the rapid river. You get hurt. There's no medical staff. It's dangerous. People like complaining about not being safe and things like that. We never experienced that. The staff was always very helpful as well. If someone did fall off, they'd be there ready to make sure they're okay. but it was really, really fun. It probably takes about 20-25 minutes to get through the whole thing. There's no wait, you just kind of grab a tube and go on. You can always get back on as well, so you just keep going around and around as much as you want. There are midpoints, there's probably like 3 or 4 different points that you can get off and just ride slides. So you can get off, ride a slide that takes you right back into it, and then you just keep on going. The slides are really fun. They take you on like conveyor belts. You go up, there's water that pushes you along the slide, and so it's pretty fast, it's pretty fun. And then there's also random points where instead of it just being like a lazy river with a few waves, it's like a drop down, and it's actually like a rapid that you're going through. And so we'll show lots of videos of it here, but it was really fun. That's probably what we did the most. We'd ride it like 4 or 5 times a day, and it was really fun.
So like we said, our room was right above a pond of turtles. So those were the first animals we noticed. Is there's like 15, I think we counted at one point, turtles just like swimming around. And then they had other pools around there too. So there was one of just like little sharks, and there was one of stingrays, and there was one of sharks that had this like crazy saw head. I don't even know what they were, but they were pretty cool to see. And just there's like seriously so much you could walk around and see all the different animals outside. And then they also have a big aquarium inside that you can go through, and it has like everything: jellyfish, lobsters, crabs, all different kinds of fish. They had these big, like, I don't even know what they were, giant fish things, and more turtles and more sharks, they had some really big stingrays in some of the tanks. They were like some of the biggest I've ever seen, and we walked around them all the time.
That inside aquarium that she was talking about, it is kind of hidden. We actually didn't notice it till right as we were about to leave. Part of it's kind of out in the main area that you can see, but then there's this door that just goes into this like side area that actually has a ton in it. And it's not advertised very well. And it looks like it's just like a dark room that goes off into nothing. But if we looked closer, it's pretty obvious it's right in the main area. So just make sure that you don't miss that.
Lots of the different ponds and pools around outside are ones that you can do different like swimming adventure things in. So a lot of times we'd walk by and we'd see people like snorkeling in them with the animals. So that's always something you can do.
And one thing that we did is we did the Dolphin Cay Adventures. Now there's a lot of different things you can do. You can do like yoga with the dolphins, you can ride paddle boards. We decided to do the snorkeling and swimming with the dolphins. It was pretty fun. I think there were about like 5 or 6 dolphins in there at the same time that we were. You just kind of snorkel around in circles, swimming with them. You're not allowed to touch them, but they are allowed to kind of poke you. And so it was fun. They'd come and like nibble on your toes or just poke you in the side, do different things like that. And so it was a pretty good time. I think you get to swim for like 20 or 30 minutes with them and just kind of hang out. The guy that kind of guides you, he tries to get the dolphins to do things, to interact with you more, and the more you interact with them, the more they'll interact with you. And so it was a good time. Now, they don't let you take your phones or any cameras in there with you, but if you have people with you, they're allowed to just sit on the beach right there, that's like right in front of the water where you're swimming, and they can take pictures of you the whole time. But they also said that like you could buy pictures and they'd have pictures taken of you. We never saw anyone with a camera there the whole time. We weren't planning on buying the pictures just because it was like $120 just to get them on a USB drive, or $80 for hard copies. And so we decided it'd be better to just, not worth taking the pictures. We just take some right when we got out for a little bit. And so it was kind of disappointing not even to get to see the pictures that we wanted, that were taken of us, if there were any. But, oh well, probably weren't going to buy them anyway.
And in our group, I think there was like maybe 10 people, so like 10 of us and like 6 dolphins. So I felt like I got to like interact with them quite a bit. It wasn't like a huge group of people and only a few dolphins. It was pretty like good size for what we were doing.
Yeah, and like we said, they give you snorkels after or during it, and you get to keep them. So we used them at the beach later, and it was really fun. They also give you a list of things to do every morning. So if you go to the front desk, you can get a paper for like the activities of the day. And there's a lot of different activities. So some of them is like feeding stingrays and turtles. We never did that. You have to wake up pretty early to do that one. There's also, they tell you what movie is playing. There's usually only one movie a day. And they are kind of newer movies. They're all the ones that will be on the airplane as you're flying there. So if you're going to be there for a while and you don't get to watch something on the airplane, you can probably find it there. We never went to the theater. We just rather would watch movies in our room. They also had a library we never went to, a game room, things like that. They have some shows going on throughout the time. We never went to any of them. We found that there was just enough to do being outside and enjoying the aquariums and the water parks and things like that.
One of the things we did do inside a lot was go to the casino. Neither of us really knew what we were doing, so we just gave ourselves so much. We said we had this much money to spend, and we would just pick different slot machines and play them, which was fun for us. But if you do really like casinos and you know what you're doing, then they had lots of like poker tables and things like that. And it was like pretty big, and during the day there was almost nobody in there, so you could have any machine you wanted. But at night we'd walk through and it definitely was more busy. But I think that there was still enough to do within the casino.
Yeah, and the casino is kind of right by the main entrance, so you did have to walk through it a lot to get places, but you are also allowed to like walk around it. They have ways getting around. They say that kids aren't supposed to be in there, but I saw kids walking through all the time and they never kicked them out. Just as long as they're not playing the machines, I'm sure it's fine. So one thing we read before getting there is that the food prices are crazy expensive, and they definitely are. You could easily, for just a couple of people, spend over $300 on food a day if you were eating at like the nicest places and things like that. I think we ate at two places that were kind of more of the upper class, and that was Virgil's Barbecue and Carmine's Italian restaurant. And the barbecue, I would say it was okay. It was nothing special. They brought our food out really, really quickly, which makes me think that they just had a bunch of it ready beforehand. And the portion sizes for both of those places are really big. So that barbecue place we went to, we think we spent around $100, and we got a main meal and then like two sides with it. And it probably easily could have fed 4 people. And then the Italian place we went to could have easily fed like 8 people. It was huge. And that cost about $100 as well.
We ordered spaghetti and meatballs at the
Yeah,
place. It was like this giant pile of spaghetti. It was huge, and there was no way we could have finished it.
Yeah, and we got a salad as well that was also huge. So $100 for 6 people might not be crazy expensive, but $100 for 2 people was probably a little bit much. But what we did is we just kind of took it home with us and ate it as leftovers. And they don't actually have mini fridges in the rooms or microwaves, so what we had to do is we brought a cooler bag with us, and we would just fill it up with ice every night and every morning, and then just put our leftovers in that cooler bag.
Also remember to bring Ziploc bags, because we'd go and we'd fill the Ziploc bags with ice and put that in our cooler so that we didn't just have ice floating around in there.
Yeah. We went to Murray's Deli one time, and we got sandwiches. They had a lot of things like soups and whatnot, and there is a line for just going and picking up your food, and then you can also be seated and kind of take your order. So whichever one you want, a lot of the places had to-go things. Another place that we went to a lot is we went to the Marina Pizza, and that is like a $30 pizza, but it's a really big pizza. It could easily feed a family of 4 to 5, especially if you have little kids. For us, we didn't eat a ton of meals every day. We'd try and eat like 2 meals and then have snacks. We also brought a lot of snacks with us. We filled our suitcase up with that. And we would eat, so we probably ate like half the pizza at night, and then we ate it again for like breakfast, things like that. So each of those pizzas would usually last like 2.5 meals for us, but could definitely last longer if you were eating 3 meals a day instead of just 2.
That is probably one of the more popular places to eat on the island. So around like normal meal times, it did get kind of busy, but so if you got there a little bit early, then it'd probably be quicker, but yeah, it's definitely a popular one.
I think the longest we waited there was like 25, 30 minutes maybe, but you can always just go sit outside and watch the yachts because it's right next to the yachts. And so that was probably one of our favorite places to go. I would say, yeah, that meal always ended up being around $30, $35 after tax and gratuity. Like they say, those are automatically added in, which does make the trip quite a bit more expensive, but just know that you don't have to tip extra, and that you probably shouldn't because they're already adding on such a high tip with that. One thing that when we called a room service is they would always say, no matter what time of the day, whenever it is, they'll be like, it will be about a 40-minute wait. And sometimes it was 40 minutes, other times it was 15. So they were pretty quick. The room service was always good. The prices were probably around the $15 to $40 range, depending upon what you got. We didn't ever drink any alcohol, and so there were bottles of alcohol that were like $10,000. So if you wanted to get crazy, you could, but there were never any outrageously priced items on there that we were like, oh, we can't ever get that kind of thing. There's this little small town right next to the yachts and that pizza place, and it had a lot of other food places in it. That's where Carmine's was. There was also a little burger place in there, and I think our meal there ended up being around $30 to $40 as well. So for the 9 days that we were there, we went to like 2 really nice places to eat, and then everything else was just like room service or burgers or pizza, salads. They had like breakfast sandwiches, things like that. And so I think total 9 days for 2 people, we spent about $600 worth of food, but we had a $300 resort credit, and we got that by booking through the Atlantis directly. I think it's if you were staying over 5 days or something like that, you got a $300 resort credit. And so overall, we only spent $300 on food, which wasn't bad.
The place by the yachts that has all the food places, but over by the pools and like within the water park, there's little like food shacks that just has like burgers and pizza and food like that. But those close at like 5, so they're probably the cheapest place to eat, but they're more like lunch places. So we ate there when we were at the water park, and then more for like dinner and things like that, we'd go to the other places and eat.
Yeah, and those were probably like $7 to $10 meals kind of thing, and they're always big portions. And so all the food there, it might have been expensive, but it was always a really big portion. So it always filled you up. You never had to get like 2 meals to be satisfied or anything like that. It was pretty good.
So when we checked in, they gave us a little like booklet basically that had our water coupons. So you get about 1 per day you're staying there, and each one is good for 2 bottles of water. And they're good at like any of the food places. So every day we just go and use those. They're like ice cold water. So those were really nice. We'd get them and like take them to the beach or to the pool. And that definitely kept us hydrated while we were there.
Yeah, we also brought our own water bottles, and so we just fill those up with the ice in the hotel, use the sink water, or use the water fountains when we're out and about. And we never had got sick at all from water. A lot of the reviews online said don't drink it. Some said it was fine to drink. We would say it was fine to drink. We didn't have any problems. Like I said, we took Pepto-Bismol tablets. And so I wouldn't worry about water. A lot of people say, oh, buy cases of water before you get there. There's no fridge to store it in. It would just be warm water. I would just go with ice from the hotel, bring your own water bottle, and then also use those water vouchers to get your water bottles every day.
They do have, like you said, drinking fountains all over the water park. And one of them is like the one where you put your water bottle in. So they are made to like drink from and fill up your water bottle. So they're expecting you to drink the water there as well. So I think they think it's okay.
And if you're not worried about money, you can just buy water bottles every day. They are expensive. They're like $7 for a bottle of water. So up to you what you want to do. And they also have a little convenience store where you can buy snacks, you can buy toothpaste, magnets. They have gift shops, things like that. They are a little bit more expensive just because you are at a resort. We never left to go anywhere else to try and like find a store or whatnot. Taxi cabs are pretty expensive, and so it was really not worth it to leave. You might as well just buy stuff there. Another thing is we read a lot online that, oh, there's a Domino's close by you can order from. There's this Chinese place you can order from. When we tried to order on Domino's website, it did let you select like the Atlantis Hotel as your drop-off place, but every time we did it, it would always say, we're not able to deliver here. Some people had reviews where it's like, oh, they delivered to your room. Other people said they delivered to the front, you just go pick it up. Maybe if you called in, you could do it. We just figured it's not worth it. Let's just order at the hotel, things like that. Apparently the delivery fee is not expensive, but who knows, maybe they add on a ton of stuff after you get there. We tried it, but it didn't work for us. So a lot of people around the water park, they were very friendly. It was either a hit or miss. There were people that were like really happy, excited to see you. One guy remembered us going through the Rapid River, and he was always like, oh, you guys again. And he would push us into the waves, things like that. There was the person who cleaned our room. She was really, really nice. Some of the front desk people were really nice. It was just hit or miss. There were some people that seemed like they didn't want to be at work. They helped you. They were never rude, but they didn't always smile. So it was just kind of a hit or miss. I'd say it's about 50% were really nice. The other half We're kind of more just like, I'm here to get paid.
They do have staff around the water park that will take pictures for you. So like as you're in the lazy river, they'll take your picture and give you a wristband that you can go turn in and buy the pictures, which we never did, but that's always an option if you want the pictures of you like going down the water slides and in the lazy river.
So there's also like a lot of different pools around the resort, and so there's not just one main one. There's that big one in the middle, but then there's some scattered about. And so they were never really that crowded. There were shallow ones, deeper ones. There was a kids pool only, so if you have kids, they could play in that. There were a lot of grass places that you could just kind of go and sit out on if you wanted to. There were chairs around the resort. A lot of people said that you have to go before 10 a.m. or else all the chairs fill up. A lot of the chairs did fill up, but we were always able to find one really quickly. You just might have had to go to a pool that was a little bit further away, put your stuff down, and then go hang out in the resort. So there was really never any problems with that. Overall, we felt pretty safe while we were there. In our room, we were fine. We were at the resort. We never left, so there was really no reason to feel unsafe or anything like that. Nothing was ever stolen. We didn't have any bad experiences. A lot of the reviews online, what you got to think about is they're all the people that either had really bad experiences or were paid to leave reviews or that were really good. But most of the places we saw reviews had over like 4,000 reviews, and I don't think the Bahamas paid, I don't think the Atlantis Resort paid 4,000 people to leave a review. A lot of them were negative, a lot of them were really positive, there were really no in between. So it really was just people's honest reviews about their experience, but you just gotta know that a lot of them were negative experiences because if you think about it, most of us don't really leave reviews on something unless we were really upset.
So technically our room did have a mini fridge in it, but they stock it full of things, and the fridge has a sensor, so if you pull anything out, it charges you for it. So you can't actually use it, but it is in there if you did want to buy any of their snacks. They're already in your room, and it just automatically charges your card. So it is an option. It's not something we did because we felt like we'd rather get a whole meal from room service or something, but there is that fridge in there full of stuff.
And the rooms also had safes in there. Now they were pretty small. You couldn't fit a computer or anything like that in there, which is why we brought a lock. But you could probably put phones and stuff in there, wallets, jewelry, things like that. The only problem with that is I'm sure most of the employees, if they want to steal something, they know how to reset the safes. So we found it's better to just bring our own locks, things like that. We also didn't bring our expensive jewelry or anything like that. We left it at home. We just brought little rubber rings that we wore around everywhere we went. I kept my wedding ring on and I just put that band over it just so that it wouldn't fall off, things like that. But Sydney left hers at home and then just brought that rubber band with her.
Tristan told me I wasn't allowed to bring my ring because I'd lose it. So.
She probably would have. Overall, there's a lot to do at the resort. We probably woke up every day around 9ish or 10. The water parks don't open until 10 o'clock. You can go to the beach before then, but we just kind of plan on, okay, let's wake up around then. And then we just would go out to the beach for a few hours, come back to our room. Sydney would sometimes stay out. We'd bring books to read, and then we'd go back in the afternoon, hang out. They close at around 6 or 7, and so we'd try and stay out until around then, sometimes come back a little earlier if we were hungry, went to eat, went back to our room, and then after that we'd just kind of hang out in our room, play games, do stuff on our computer, maybe watch a few movies. The Netflix there is different than the Netflix in whatever country you're from because apparently Netflixes are different everywhere, so they had different shows, a lot of things we could watch, different movies. It was fun. At night, the internet did get a little bit slower sometimes, so depending upon what you were doing, if you needed a lot of bandwidth, that's kind of when everyone was on the internet, but we were always able to watch Netflix, so it was never terrible. Well, we hope we covered everything. We just kind of went over everything we were worried about when we got there. We couldn't find everything we wanted in one place, so we hope that's kind of what this is. Watch this video. This is everything that you should need to know. Now, I guess everyone's needs are different, so there might be some things we didn't go over. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments. We'll try to answer as many as we can. But overall, we thought it was a really good experience. It was definitely expensive for what you got, but any big, huge resort like that we went for our honeymoon, and it was kind of all we wanted. We wanted a beach, we wanted water slides, We wanted food right where we were, and we didn't really want to worry about having to drive anywhere or travel or anything like that. If you want kind of a cheaper vacation where you can get more out of what you're paying for, definitely go somewhere cheaper like Bali or even Hawaii, depending upon where you stay. If you're hanging out at Airbnbs and things like that, could have been cheaper because it was a resort. They knew that a lot of people were there. They had a lot of money. They just wanted to have a good time and spend money places close by instead of having to leave their resort. And so that's kind of why the prices were higher. So you can definitely get a better value somewhere else. But I think it was a fair value. I don't think it was crazy overpriced. We had a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. I don't know if we would necessarily go back just because it was kind of like a good one-time thing. We're definitely glad we went. We wouldn't have said, oh, we don't want to go. We should have gone somewhere else. But it's probably not the kind of place we would visit again, just because we kind of got everything out of it that we needed to. But who knows, maybe one day we will when we have kids or something like that. But I think next time we'll probably just go somewhere else where we can actually go and travel, sightsee, and things like that. But that was definitely a great resort to stay at. We really liked it. And yeah, that was kind of our experience with it. Thanks for watching.
Bye! Thanks for watching. We had a lot of fun. We hope that this was helpful for you.
Yeah, and if it was helpful, give it a like, subscribe. We'll try and make more videos about places we travel to or just things in our life. To kind of help it out, document our lives, and kind of just have a good time. We'll see you later.
Bye!